Broze. Hey, thank you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you to everybody who organized this. My name is Derrick Broze. I'm a lifelong Houstonian. I've been here for 34 years. For the last 10 years or so, I've dedicated my life to a form of community activism, all forms of community activism, and journalism. I have a radio show here on KPFT. My work is focused on exposing corruption, both in this current administration, in the previous administration, in the current police, and the previous police. And, I focused on that with this campaign. However, I want to tell you just for a moment a little bit about where I came from prior to this. 15 years ago, I got addicted to drugs. When I was 20 years old, I went to prison and worked my way through dealing with those issues. And eventually found myself free after spending time in the criminal justice system, like Mr. Boykin's talking about. I got out and I had to figure out how I was going to take my life, which direction. And I had the experiences of what it's like to be a felon in the city of Houston and not be able to rent certain places or not be able to get hired certain places, and to see what that's like firsthand. So as part of my campaign, what I'm talking about is exposing corruption and amplifying the voices of Houstonians, particularly in areas that are not discussed in this race. There are issues that most of the people here on the stage will talk about, flooding, potholes, and things of that sort, which I do think have a place and are important. But at the same time, I think the reason we have such a low voter turnout is because there are not very many people who wake up every day excited about voting on potholes. That's just not where most people are, at least of a certain demographic. And so I'm talking about things that aren't being raised by this administration or any of the other campaigns, including ending the drug war in Houston. The way you address the crime issue is you stop spending resources, time, and money on police officers locking people up for nonviolent crimes, including for cannabis. So we could say we've already saved $35 million from the DA's diversion program. If we did complete decriminalization, you have money to pay for the firefighters, you have money to redirect police resources towards violent crimes and human trafficking. We also are talking about giving the people a voice when it comes to police surveillance. Surveillance tools that the current city council and mayor have continued to approve without any say from the people of Houston. We're also talking about giving the people a voice in the controversial 5G rollout, new technology that has surveillance concerns and privacy concerns and health concerns that a lot of people have reached out to me and asked me about, particularly in this area as well. We are also talking about converting abandoned, vacant lots that are now being used for dumping, starting programs to allow for more community garden efforts, more urban farms, more local food production to make Houston a sustainable city. And along with decriminalizing cannabis and ending the drug war, we also want to start encouraging hemp production along the city of Houston, particularly in the bayou, which would help with flooding. If you had hemp, which grows fast, which drinks a lot of water, and is now illegal in Texas as of the last couple of months. So there are a lot of innovative ideas that we're talking about that you're not going to hear in any of these other campaigns. I do encourage you guys to check out DerrickBroze.com if you want to find out more. I'm going to be in all of the upcoming debates this month, and I am going to be on the ballot. And I appreciate your time. I just want you to know that what we're trying to do is get people to see that we have the power within our own hands and within our own hearts to change this city. And it's not going to be by relying on politicians and people who have been trying to be a part of the system their whole life. It's time to do something new. So thank you guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to this. In politics, this is what we call being on the attack and the mayor on the fence. So I guess I'll throw my hat in the ring and take a shot too. But what you've heard is true. There is corruption in this city from top to bottom. The mayor's office, other people in the mayor's office, and I don't have 35 seconds to get into all that. But instead, I want to focus on what I think we were asked to in the beginning, which is some of the solutions. And the reality is that we live in a city that is growing every single day, and that we are living in an unsustainable city. We're living in a place where currently we can't even recycle the recyclables we have. We're having flooding. We need to start thinking proactively about ideas like taking on permaculture on a citywide level and really pushing towards new areas that are going to help Houston propel to be a smart city in the future in the sense of actually taking the environment into consideration, taking our current climate and our current conditions, as opposed to just saying putting a Band-Aid with the recycling situation is going to fix it all. Because we can come up with a solution, but that's not going to solve all of our problems.
Thank you, Mr. Broze. All right, we're going to move on. It was a quote you had written or something you had said that said, "It's my belief that human beings do not need central authorities to rule over our lives, including government." I'm very interested in why you're now interested in becoming part of the government.
Well, actually, I wanted to use my 45-second card to respond to that, but I guess I'll fit it all in one since we're just taking whatever time we want. One of the reasons that I want to run, and as you said, that quote, why would somebody who says that want to enter this race? Well, for the very reason that Mr. Hujami was just talking about. Part of my platform that we've been campaigning on since May is also to take away the power of the mayor. I don't know if the manager position he's talking about is exactly the answer, but I do know that after spending years going to city council talking about homeless issues and police violence and a range of topics, and working with council members Kubash and others, I've seen time and time again, whether this mayor or the previous mayor or another upcoming mayor, they do have dictatorial power. They can control what issues get placed on the agenda, what can be officially debated, and thereby what can be officially voted on. It's a huge block to all kinds of issues. So no matter what your issue is, the mayor having this amount of power is a roadblock to that. Ideally, what we would do is change it to a 1/3 rule where if you went to your council members, 6 out of the 16, if they had the concerns that you had, they bring it to the table, it automatically gets placed on the agenda, you get to discuss, and things are a lot easier that way. You're actually represented. So I want to say that. That's why somebody like me who does believe that everybody in this room, the crux of my campaign is self-ownership. I believe that we all do own ourselves, that we are all powerful, beautiful, free people, despite what politicians may want to tell us, despite what other people may want to tell us. And I'm using this platform because I believe it takes somebody who knows that the position has too much power, to be willing to go into there to help give the power back to the people and to stop building for themselves. I think there's some great people on this table and some that I know personally and getting to know, but I don't think any of them are actually willing to give up their own power and to make sure that people are actually heard. They want to tell you they can speak for you, but I have no desire to do that. I only want to help amplify people's voices. And so that's why, despite believing that, I am in this race and I will continue to be. Thank you.
I'm going to throw my last one. Sure. I think you guys can handle it after all this. All right, thank you guys for coming out tonight, everybody who has been out here. As far as the flooding goes, there's some things that I would echo that have already been said. There's a couple that I would shy away from. First thing, one issue that I rarely hear brought up in the whole flooding issue is, what are we going to do about actually cleaning out the bayou? The bayou that reportedly has hundreds of vehicles in it, all of which do contribute to the flooding once it rains and once we have the drainage issues that people have brought up. I think that's something that needs to be addressed more directly, a plan, an idea on how to go about cleaning up the vehicles out of there, as well as the plan I mentioned earlier that we're calling Hemp Houston, which, as I said, industrial hemp is now legal in Texas. And Houston could become a hub for that. We could create an entire industry based on planting industrial hemp that grows extremely quickly, like bamboo, and drinks a lot of water. It's an innovative idea I've been looking into elsewhere. And there's lots of ways we can approach this problem. For one, I think also addressing and accepting the fact that we live in an unsustainable city which is below sea level. Hurricanes are a regular issue, and storms are a regular issue. And planning the future of this city, we should take that into consideration. The other thing is, we need to be careful about embracing what Sue was talking about as far as smart city solutions. I think there are some wise things to go about that, but there's also some dangers in it that unfortunately the current administration has been embracing. The mayor is racing to make Houston one of the first smart cities. He says because of environmental concerns and sensors and help with traffic, they want to have driverless vehicles and things of this sort. In the last month alone, there's been 2 studies that have shown how driverless vehicles have been hacked. There's a growing amount of studies that have talked about the potential dangers of surrounding ourselves with all these smart sensors. There's also the American Civil Liberties Union that has talked about the danger of smart cities becoming surveillance cities. And not to mention the loss of right-of-way and local control that's taking place when Mayor Turner became the 5G wireless champion when he partnered with Verizon Wireless and Sprint in the city of Houston. And none of you had a say in that. So that one issue alone touches on infrastructure, environment, health, privacy, and local control. I think that's something we really need to think about. So as we're considering these solutions, whether it's flooding or other issues, we need to recognize that there are some dangers with just blindly embracing what the mayor is calling a smart city. Along with that, one of the other issues, now that I got 10, 20 seconds I want to mention, I feel remiss if I didn't, is that back in January, there was a Houstonian couple, Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas, which were killed by the Houston Police Department in a lie, a no-knock raid. Some of you may have heard about this in the news. And I'm the only one that's calling for a complete end to no-knock raids, and also for a complete audit of the police department in order to find out if there are any other bad apples who may have been involved with crimes like Gerald Goins. That's something that we need to address if we're going to talk about taking the city into the next century and having a safe city. We need to root out the corruption that already exists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.